Welcome back to Just Scrap Radio on BJPenn.com. I'm your host, Cole Shelton, episode 110. We got a good lineup. I had a KnuckleMania 3 and UFC Vegas 69. First up, we're going to be joined by Diego Sanchez and Austin Trout to preview their KnuckleMania 3 fight against each other. Diego making his BKFC debut against Austin Trout, who this is a very surprising opponent. Austin Trout's had a lot of success in boxing. He's a champion. He's a top 5 contender. He's fought the likes of Jamar Char. He's fought both the Charlo twins. He's fought Canelo Alvarez. He's beaten the likes of Jose Sanchez, Charles, Joey Hernandez, Daniel Dawson. Like, he has some very impressive wins. As mentioned, he's a boxing champion. He's a top 5 contender in the weight class. So obviously tough test for Diego, but Diego's pretty confident. This is a different sport than boxing. He thinks his style. Trout's going to overestimate him or underlook him, sorry, and he's going to come out on top. But good chat with both these guys. A bit of technical difficulties with Austin. His connection wasn't the best. There are times where it doesn't come through, but overall, good chat with Austin. We're then going to be joined by John Dodson to preview his KnuckleMania 3 fight against Gerard Grant. John obviously coming off that very impressive BKFC debut where he knocked out Ryan Benoit in just 40 seconds, and then he picked up a first-round TKO win in Rise and the New Year's Eve event, turns around quickly to fight Gerard Grant. He said this has been his goal since getting released in the UFC. He wants to be as active as possible. He's fighting Gerard Grant, who's coming off that interim championship fight at bantamweight, but Johnson thinks he's the best flyweight, and he's going to prove it here. He thinks it's only a matter of time before he holds that title, and he's really looking forward to this matchup. Moving over to the UFC, we're then going to be joined by Zach Pauga, who is the co-main event against Jordan Wright. Obviously, pretty surprising spot, but Zach really looking forward to this one. Obviously, lost in the finale and tough, got knocked out by Muhammad Usman at heavyweight, dropping back down to his natural weight class, light heavyweight. He said win or lose against Usman, it was always going to be dropping back down to 205, and he gets a very fun fight against Jordan Wright. He knows the first round is going to be dangerous. He says it's basically do or die in that first round where Wright's going to be looking for the knockout, but he has a lot of confidence he'll be able to get the knockout himself. And then we close things out talking to Evan Elder, the previous fight against Nazem Sadikov. Evan coming off that UFC debut loss last April to Preston Parsons. We talk about the time off and what he kind of learned about that debut loss, but he has a lot of confidence going in this one. He knows he has the experience in the UFC now. He knows what to expect, and he's really looking forward to proving to everyone how good he is, especially on a full camp. But be sure to share the show, subscribe, and tune in next week for another episode of Just Scrap Radio. All right, we're joined by Diego Sanchez, who's back in action and with his BKFC debut at KnuckleMania 3. Diego, how's it going, man?
It's going great. Going great. Just excited, training hard, and just putting everything I got into this great opportunity in front of me.
I just quickly kind of want to touch on, obviously, your last fight against Kevin Lee in Eagle FC. You haven't fought in nearly a year. Like, I just kind of want to talk about that layoff. Like, what kind of was the reason for you not to fight in so long?
I was excited for the Eagle FC fight. I took it on 5 weeks' notice, put it on a great performance. Some argued that I did more damage and possibly could have been a split decision. And then I went on to the next venture, and the next venture was a boxing exhibition fight with Dan Hardy in Manchester, England. And that was going to be on the Ricky Hatton, Marco Barrera undercard. And that was scheduled for July 7th. And I guess it was one of the Furies got injured and fell off the card. And they had problems with their networking, is what I was told. And that they had to postpone the show to the next available Saturday date that was going to be available. And that wasn't until November 20th. And so I trained for July 7th and I trained for November 20th, and the fight fell through. I don't know why the fight fell through, but the fight fell through. I was paid 10 grand for the training camp. So I was like, all right, I'll take the 10 grand. And it is what it is. I got to train pure boxing all year long, evolve and develop my skills in a new place and a new setting. And so it was all good. It was just a matter of perfect timing for my BKFC debut, because that has always been my intention and a place that I see myself headed.
And then you get Austin Trout in your debut. I talked to him last week, and he was excited because he said both you guys are kind of those OGs in New Mexico fighting. Like, how excited were you when you found out you'd be fighting him?
Well, it's the opponent didn't really matter for me. I was looking to probably fight at 175. Um, for what it matters is for mostly the BKFC and the star name and the value of the sell. And so that's what I was looking for. I was looking for the name that was going to sell the best with my name for the organization and for the company, because I'm here to help and bless and bring numbers and bring my fan base, and I needed a good name. And so, here's Austin Trout. He's a world boxing champion. And so in the striking department, he has the highest credentials that are possible. And so that's the type of opponent I was looking to face, because I had an opportunity to get into a new fan base, which is the boxing fan base, Austin's fans, get into the BKFC fan base, and also bring all of the mixed martial arts fan base along for an exciting combat sports fight.
Are you surprised Austin is going into bare knuckle? Like, this is a guy that's, I think, ranked 5th or 6th for the belt. Like, he's a former champion. He's fought some of the biggest names. Like, he's kind of right in that mix in boxing. Are you surprised he's going to BKFC?
Yeah, a little surprised, honestly, but you know, I'm happy. I'm happy he's doing it, because I wouldn't be able to have this great opportunity if he wasn't being the man that he is, the legend that he is, and stepping in there with me with his confidence. Because the reason he became a world champion boxer was his confidence, and he still holds that confidence, although it is a delusional spectrum of confidence coming from, just overconfidence, because he's overconfident in his hands, and he has a delusion thinking that I can just take my gloves off that I've been fighting with my whole life, with these pillows, these mittens that add a circumference area to the fist, and come to now, which is half the size and bones coming at your face, and think that you're gonna just be able to fight the same strategies, the same repetitions, the same habits that you have been developing for so many years. Fighting a Philly shell, being a southpaw in Austin. Southpaw, he's fought almost 95% orthodox his entire career. I've done my research, and he has troubles with the switch of the stance of a southpaw. And so, I don't think he did his research. I think he just got overconfident and made a hasty decision to want to make some money, but not only for the money, he's doing it for the glory, because he knows that if he comes from a boxing area into BKFC and does successful, he can branch out into more fans, more respect, more honor, and more legacy on his name. And that's why he's doing it. He's doing it because he wants to be great. And I have nothing but respect for those thoughts and those actions. But I do, coming from a martial artist aspect, have a better understanding of all the facets of combat, and a better understanding for dialing in one area, dialing in. I've been doing this my whole career. I had to do the 3 years for the BJJ. I had to do the 10 years for the wrestling. I had to do the 17 years in the striking and the Muay Thai, in the boxing, in just open hand, open hand, where you can use your fingers type of fighting. So I feel that I have the better line of experience when going into this new aspect of combat sports, which is BKFC, where you can actively fight inside the clinch, and where you're fighting with a smaller circumference area of a fist. And so I think he's overconfident. I think he overlooked me, watching my striking in my MMA fights, maybe. But he's so confident that he thinks that no MMA fighter can hang with him with his hands. He thinks he's like Floyd Mayweather, but you're not Floyd Mayweather. You're Austin Trout. You're not the guy that beat Canelo. You're the guy that got beat by Canelo when he was, I think, 20, 21 years old. You're not who you think you are, and you're in for a rude awakening with myself coming into this fight, because I am still young enough, still fresh enough, and I am working my ass off in this training camp, putting everything that I got into it so that I can go in there and be victorious like every time.
Do you think he is overlooking you because of you just come from the MMA background, and like MMA striking is different because you have to have your hands ready to defend takedowns and defend kicks. Like obviously your striking is going to be a lot different at bare knuckle with you not having to worry about any of that stuff.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely overlooking it. Like I said, I don't think he did enough research, because he's coming from a headspace of arrogance and overconfidence due to being patted on his boxing record. I know some of the promoters that promote his fights, and he picks every single opponent. That's why he fights orthodox every time. And in the big fights, trying to make the comeback up in boxing, he failed. He lost, and he was dropped, and he took some heavy damage. So if people are thinking that this guy's Floyd Mayweather, he's not Floyd Mayweather.
And then what, in hindsight, are you kind of glad, or not glad, obviously that Hardy fight got canceled, but in hindsight, is it good that like you were offered that fight so you could spend a lot of time just worrying about striking and not focusing on MMA?
Absolutely. Well, in my exit strategy of the UFC and mixed martial arts, of course, Eagle FC popped up, and an opportunity to fight Kevin Lee, who's a phenomenal fighter, a huge name, and a very respected man. I had to take that opportunity. But I also, in my exit strategy, seen that there's going to be opportunities in BKFC, there's going to be opportunities in Triller, in Triad, and in boxing exhibitions. If I was to get my feet wet in this boxing exhibition, it was going to open the doors to other possible boxing exhibitions. And I love boxing. I was a 1-0 pro when I signed with the UFC. Most people don't know that. But I that was my start. I loved watching boxing. I love boxing. I always loved boxing. But I made a choice to not go boxing and go mixed martial arts, because in 2002, when I made this decision, I felt that mixed martial arts was the best and most purest sport in the world. And I just felt that it was the purest form of combat, because you could use all of the body. You could use all of the body. You could use all of the human resources in combat. And for me, that was pure and that was real. And I was on a mission to be the baddest, best fighter in the entire world at my weight class. And so when you're on that mission and you really truly want to be the best in the world, you say, hey, I'm going to go this way because I know that that's the real. Boxing is not everything that the human body has to offer. And I made that choice, and I did that choice. Was it the right choice? I don't know. Maybe I might have done great in boxing. Maybe I might have been a world champion in boxing. But I chose MMA because of my love, and I'm choosing BKFC because of my love for combat, and that it's more pure. You have to be better with your strikes, because you can't just throw a punch. You might break your hand. You hit the top of the forehead, you could really break your hand. And so there's a lot of just different dynamics, or get cut really bad. You're seeing a lot of these bare knuckle fighters get cut really bad, and they're getting cut so bad because they're just headhunting. They're just going for the head, and they are and this is why Austin Trout decided that he wanted to do BKFC. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to give you the little secret. The secret is that BKFC is a growing and evolving, adapting sport. And in the process of evolution and adaptation, what happens is you're going to get a lot of different levels of skills and talent on the card. right, and on the roster. So some of these guys that are coming in here and making waves in BKFC, they're just brawlers. They're just brawlers. There's not a lot of skill on their side, but they got heart and they got 2 minutes of fury and they're willing to sacrifice themselves. And so they can get some stuff done. And I know a skillful striker like Austin, while studying BKFC, watching videos on YouTube, and seeing what it's all about, he saw the major difference in skill sets, just as I seen it while I was finishing my UFC career. And I said, oh, look at, like, some of these guys don't get it. Some of them are really good, but some of them don't get it. Okay, I think that me, with my understanding and my intellectual interpretation of standing and combat in the standing erect position, I said, no, I have a better understanding. I know the distance. I know the vision. I know how to move and step better. And I know the defense better. I said, this is going to be like taking baby from candies. You know what I mean? Taking candy from babies. You know what I mean? And so I had to pursue this, and I pursued this, and in the process of pursuing this, David Feldman in Philadelphia has been just a pleasure to work with. He flew me out. He took really good care of me out there, and we put a lot of time into putting a contract together that I didn't even end up signing because I re-signed with UFC. And so we have a history and we have a relationship. And so we built that off of our relationship. And look, this is the second event in Albuquerque. I told David, I said, people in Albuquerque love bare knuckle fighting. That's the real Albuquerque, New Mexico way. Like, before MMA was ever around, everybody was throwing down in the streets bare knuckle, and most of the time no takedowns, and most of the time no kicks. So, like, the people out here, they relate to it and they just love it. The thrill of man, these knockouts, and how entertaining a BKFC show is. I said, nah, this is going to be the West Coast hub. We're going to bring it to Albuquerque. This is going to, because this is the farthest that BKFC has gone west. And in their expansion, of course, man, of course they want Vegas, but UFC got the lock on that. They won't sanction BKFC where they're combat athletes that are skilled fighters and warriors that are trained, but they'll sanction Power Slap where you got a power lifter that's smacking the hell out of another guy, giving him real brain damage. You know what I mean? And let me attack some of the haters out there who have went with the propaganda and agenda that was against me. Because, first of all, I did not leave the UFC getting knocked out like Chuck Liddell or Frankie Edgar. I wasn't face down on the canvas. And in my career, I had a couple knockouts. I had Matt Brown hit me behind the ear with an elbow that put me out. I had A La Cuenta hit me with a straight right that I didn't see. And as far as that, I had the BJ Penn fight where there was a lot of trauma. I did have some fights, but I gave myself time to heal. I respected the balance and the harmony of the healing system. I respected, I do hot yoga every day. I'm with the mind, the body, the spirit. I'm cleansing myself from the inside out. And for people to come with all this hate towards me, saying that I have CTE and that I have brain damage and that this is all false allegations. Never once in my life has my mental acuity, my memory, or anything been questioned. Yeah, I'm dyslexic and sometimes my words come out backwards, but it is what it is. My brain is healthy. My mind is healthy. I have taken great care of myself. And I just want to just nip this one on the butt and tell everybody, like, man, I've passed every medical test possible with flying colors. My heart, my brain, my mind. I've done EKG, I've done CTE, I've done MRI, I've done everything. I've done the cognitive tests. And so I just go like this and dust it on my shoulder. But for the people out there, I got a message for everyone out there. Stop being sheep and be a leader. Follow your gut, follow your heart. Don't just see a comment I say, I'm going with that. Oh yeah, the CTE guy. He's the CTE guy. Look, he must have it. He must have it. He was in all those wars. He must have it. That's that's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. It's never been in question. It'll never be in question because I take care of myself and I will get out of this sport. If I ever had one underlining factor or like, come on, like if I had problems, I wouldn't be doing this shit. I'm doing this shit because I love it, because I love the competition and I love building on my legacy. I want to go out there. I want to defeat Austin Trout, a world champion boxer, and show that Diego Sanchez is a combat sports legend, not just a UFC legend, Hall of Famer. This guy is a straight up savage. He's adapting. He's evolving. This guy can do. This guy did Abu Dhabi. This guy did this guy did it all. You know what I mean? This guy's a fucking legend, and that's the explanation mark that I'm gonna put on my record, on my history, on my legacy come February 17th. And it's on. It's game time. It's go time. Work, train, work, train, work, train, work, train. That's it, man. Recover, healing, yoga.
Obviously, with this fight with Austin, like he obviously is a very skilled boxer, but we don't really know how he's going to react to getting hit with a bare knuckle fist. So, like, how do you kind of see this one playing out?
Well, like I was like thinking like, okay, like don't give away your game plan, da 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 da. But the bottom line is this, man. In bare knuckle fighting championship, you have to get off first. You have to be aggressive. You have to go forward. And I got to get in there and I got to take care of business. I'm not trying to go in there and box with him. I'm gonna make this shit nasty. I'm gonna make it ugly, and I'm gonna be a nightmare in there, man. I'm gonna be all over his ass from the minute that the fight starts to the minute that they stop the fight. It's gonna be a stoppage or a knockout. I'm not gonna let up. And if he thinks he's gonna be able to counter me with a Philly shell jab or a weak straight left, nah, that shit ain't happening, man. And when he feels my power and my strength and my size and what I got in my bones, I got heavy bones. I got hard bones. I got strength in my bones. And it's that strength in the bones that when you hit him in the body, you might see one of his ribs break. You know what I mean? When you see these connections happen, he's gonna want out of there. He's gonna want out of there. He's not gonna want to get in there. He's not gonna want to stay in there. And I could see it. It's gonna get stopped. It's gonna get stopped. The fight will get stopped. If not the first round, the second round. If not the third round, the fourth round. If not the fourth round, the fifth round. He's going down.
Just a couple more things. Like you beat Austin, it kind of sets you up to maybe fight for the belt. Like, what is kind of your goals then in BKFC? Is it to obviously become a world champion there?
And yeah, as far as it goes for me, I'm not really chasing the belt, honestly. Like, yeah, it would be great to feel some gold around my waist again. I won the King of the Cage world title back in 2001, but I'm not chasing that. I'm chasing the legacy. I'm chasing the big names. I'm chasing just doing the biggest, the best that I can. And so, yeah, the fight after this, could be a title fight, but I don't know. The fight that I really want is with Nick Diaz bare knuckle because he has such a strong following and he's the Nick Diaz Stockton OG gangster, and he made a great legacy for himself, and I don't think that he's done because he's UFC. I think that he has still fight inside of him, like he said, in his interviews. He's like, it's just inevitable. I'm a fighter, and that's why he did the last fight in the UFC. But hey, if you're a real gangster and you're a street dude, come on, man, let's take the gloves off and like let's do no takedowns. I already beat you in takedowns. I already beat you in jujitsu. I did that. I did that in the UFC. So now let's play into your game and let's do only hands. So if you're the hands guy and you're the legend of the hands, you're the boxing legend. You're the guy that got the hands. come on over here to BKFC and let's see if you really do got the hands, because I think I'm the new guy with the hands. And I'm going to prove that on February 17th, taking out a world champion boxer, making a huge statement, and for everybody, making a statement for myself, making a statement for who I am inside of me and what I do and why I sacrifice and why I train so hard.
Just two more things, like outside of Nick, like is there anyone else you'd like to fight in bare knuckle, or is he kind of just the main guy right now?
Yeah, we'll see how this 165 goes. And so BKFC got some smart computers behind them. They got the algorithms going, and at the end of the day, they're going to pick the person that has the right algorithm that has the following, And my algorithm came back strong, and people know who I am, and people are intrigued and excited and want to see the next move for me. And so, as far as that algorithm goes, I don't know. Maybe it says that Chad Mendes is the guy. You know what I mean? Maybe it says that Mike Perry is the guy. You know, I'm saying that I'm the guy. And so after this, but honestly, I'm telling you the truth. I would really love to be one of the guys that gets to share the octagon with one of the Diaz brothers. Even if it was Nate. Either of them. But those are the guys that I think would do the best numbers for BKFC and evolve and elevate the state of the sport. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to elevate the state of the sport of bare knuckle fighting championship because I like it. I like that I can actively clinch and fight. I like that it's bare knuckle. I'm not lying. I like it better.
And just final thing, obviously, I know you and Dana have gotten like kind of hashed everything out. Do you think there's ever a scenario where you get your retirement fight the UFC? Because obviously you were supposed to fight Cowboy in that final fight, and it kind of got taken away from you. Now that you guys are cooler, like, is that something you'd even want at this point, or are you kind of past that, or like, what are your kind of thoughts on that?
It's all in God's hands, and I really do miss my UFC fans, and I'm gonna hit up Dana and see if he could let me come for a visit, and I just come visit the show. I want to see John Jones. I want to support John Jones and see him win his title. But we'll see. We'll see where UFC has evolved and adapted to a new sport. They don't really like the older guys in there anymore. You know what I mean? Like, and they love building new talents and but like Jamal Hill said, anything is possible. And so, I would love to step into the octagon one last time on my own terms with the positive energy, with the love that I feel right now, the strength, the confidence, and just being in a good place in my life. That's where I would want to step in the cage one last time. It would be nice, but I'm not promising anything, and I really am excited working with you with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. They work well with the fighters, and they're really working well with me, giving me this hometown fight here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So we'll see. I'm getting taken care of here with Triller, and I know that Triller owns BKFC, so this fight may lead to a boxing exhibition. I just got to go out there and show my hands and let everybody know, and I have the perfect opponent to do so, and it's gonna open doors for. We'll see what happens. Keep riding the wave, keep staying healthy, and just enjoy this while I can, because I know that the window closes, and I know that I can't fight forever, but it has been done before, and it will be done again. There are a few selected by God men who their genes are stronger, man. Their genes are stronger, and they can fight longer, and they can stay healthier longer, and they don't get gray hairs, and they stay young. You know what I mean? There's some guys like that. I know a few myself. But it's always just a matter of the opportunity and the risk, and you gotta weigh them both out and say, yeah, okay, it's opportunity on the risk, but where are you? And put yourself in a humble place and know that it has to be the right fight.
Well, Diego, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Cole. You have a good one, man.
Yeah.
God bless you, brother.
All right, we're joined by Austin Trout, who's making his bare knuckle debut here at KnuckleMania. Austin, how's it going?
It's good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Like, you kind of caught me by surprise signing with bare knuckle. Like, obviously, you're having a ton of success in boxing. Like, what kind of was the reason to make this move?
You know, I've been trying to be active as far as fighting, and it was a great, not just timing and opportunity, but they help keep me active, and I get to fight more. I really like to fight. I haven't been able to fight as much as I wanted to, so I think bare knuckle, God willing, I'm healthy. I'll be able to do that more.
How did this come to fruition? Like, did you reach out to bare knuckle or did they reach out to you? Because like it wasn't kind of really known that you were interested until obviously the deal was done.
Yeah, well, see, I was a fan of it. Hello?
Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, I was a fan of it. So whenever Nelson Kimmy called, was like, bro, would you do this? I was like, bro, that's crazy that you just called me to say that. I was just watching this ish talking about I would do that. So yeah, I'm a fan of it. I was interested in it. Now it's cool because I get to watch more bare knuckle for homework. You know what I mean?
What do you think the perception of bare knuckle is to boxers? Like I've talked to some boxers, they like it. A lot of others think it's kind of like the wild, wild west and don't really pay much attention to it. Like, what do you think the perception of bare knuckle is?
Well, I think those fighters are probably the same fighters that don't watch other combat sports besides and probably not even boxing. Because if you watch it, you'll see, man, it's fire. Like, and people that have skills are able to win. It's not just a tough man contest, although you do need to be tough and have some grit in it. It's it's a science of its own.
How do you go about preparing for this? Like, obviously, you're used to like, obviously, it is boxing, but it is without gloves. Like, how do you kind of get ready to deal with that?
Punch a lot of stuff barehanded, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get those knuckles nice and conditioned, punching the bag, punching, not hard things, soft stuff, punching bags, mostly mitts, without any knuckles on. As long as my wrists are secure, my hands are pretty sturdy.
And then with boxing, like I know you never really want to hit the forehead either. So how kind of benefit is that? Because that's the main thing in bare knuckles. You don't want to be touching the forehead.
Yeah, we got to really be pinpointed in our accuracy, but a lot of undershots, and no overhands really. I've seen a lot of bare knuckle fighters throwing overhands, but man, that's I guess unless I see the perfect overhand punch to be placed, I'm gonna try to stay away from the overhand punches.
With Diego Sanchez, like, were you surprised this is your debut opponent?
Yeah, man, I was surprised that they got Diego, but shout out to him for signing up to take this ass whooping. New Mexico's gonna win big time out of this one.
That is something I want to ask you about. Like, both of you guys are from New Mexico, so like, were you familiar with Diego before getting offered him?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's a New Mexico in his own right. So I was absolutely met him numerous times. Haven't necessarily hung out with him, but I've been in. He was at my camp for last fight I had before COVID. It was actually the same. I was going through that situation with weird cold leader trainer.
Oh yeah, yeah. That guy was a different one for Diego for sure.
He was weird. Yeah, off.
With this one, like with Diego, like he obviously comes from MMA. Like, do you think that is more difficult for you to prepare just because you're so used to fighting these technical boxers where he might come with like these unique strikes that he kind of been doing in MMA?
So, I mean, yes, some of these strikes may kind of an angle that I'm not used to, but that's why I'm MMA fighters. these guys have, in my better hands than Diego. I'm ready for it. There are adjustments that I'll need to make. I do think that he'll have an advantage because of any of those.
And then obviously bare knuckle 2-minute rounds. Like, what's that going to be like for you? Because you've been so used to fighting these 3-minute rounds in boxing.
That just a burnout for the whole. Turn was punch nonstop for as fast and as hard as we can. So it seems I'll be able to for that whole round.
With this fight too, like I've seen like I come from like the MMA background. I do a bit of bare knuckle boxing stuff as well, but a lot of people don't want to see Diego fight. Like, is there a bit hesitancy for you to take this fight just with all the damage Diego has taken in his career?
So look, I was out for the New Mexico. He can jump through hoops to get clear, make sure he's able to fight because it looks. It's not necessarily because of deterioration, but because of. But nonetheless, he did. He passed all the medical exams, so we have a fight. God willing, we both walk away healthy and happy. Maybe him not so happy, but more certainly healthy.
With bare knuckle, like, are you exclusive to them, like, or are you still going to be taking some boxing fights?
I don't know. I definitely want to look for some. I'm ranked 6th in the world. In the WBA. A title shot is not too far fetched for me, and I'm still pretty damn good. So I think I can win another one.
So this is more just for you to kind of make some money, stay busy while you're kind of waiting for the top of these divisions to kind of shake out.
No, because I also want to be a BKFC world champion. So, I'm pursuing to the fullest, but I don't want to do anything half-assed. So yeah, no, I'm absolutely north. I'm absolutely trying to make sure that I'm champion in both realms.
Do you think you're kind of going to be this, like, obviously Paulie was kind of the first big boxer to make the move to bare knuckle, but he was just a one-off. Do you think if you keep on doing this, become a champion, we'll see more boxers make this switch or do both in bare knuckle and boxing?
Absolutely. I think bare knuckle is it's a big deal, and it's a bigger deal than I think people understand. I think that's the next big thing, man. They got great production, great organization. I'm looking forward to seeing where. And I'm looking forward to being one of the. Well, I'm not an OG, so to speak, but it's so new that I can be one of the OGs in this game.
Just a couple more things with this fight with Diego. Like, how do you kind of see it playing out?
I'm gonna knock his ass out. If he's too tough his own good, then I'm gonna body him. Meaning I'm gonna go to his body and save him the head trauma.
With it too, like, do you just think your technical striking is just going to be way too much for him? Like, he has not fought, like, with these UFC guys, like, he has to worry about kicks and, like, ground game. Like, I don't think he's fought. I think it's pretty fair to say, like, he hasn't fought a technical guy like you in his career.
No, but I do know he's been training boxing, purely stand-up boxing, for probably the past 3 years. I do know that. So I'm not going to overlook him and undertrain. I'm going to train like this is the most important fight of my life, which it is.
Do you think there's a real scenario you go out there and knock out Diego, your next fight in bare knuckle is for the belt?
I don't see why not. I think it's possible. Anything's possible. It's so new.
Yeah.
It's all possible.
Just a couple more things with your boxing. Like, what is kind of goal? Like, where do you kind of see yourself? Like, how far away do you think you are from the title? Like, you obviously are ranked 6. Like, do you think it's one win, or do you think you probably need 1 or 2 more wins?
I think I'm no more than 3 fights away from a world title shot, with activity and the right fights. I think within 2 fights I could be at a title shot.
So then say everything kind of plays the way you think, like you're a bare knuckle champ and the WA champ at the same time. Like, what do you think that does for your legacy being a 2-sport champ at the same time?
Like, lock me in. I'm a Hall of Famer, baby.
And
For sure. Like, I'm the. Well, I don't want to say Bo Jackson because he got hurt.
yeah.
I'm just an amazing human being. All praise to the Most High.
Just final thing, like you fought a lot of guys in your career, a lot of the top guys. Like, is there any guys you would want to fight again before your career is up?
Jared Hurd, I would love that rematch. Charlo, Bo Charlo. Jamel, for real, because he got all the belts. He's the WBA,
Yeah.
IBF, WBC. So I would love that rematch with Charlo. And of course, the king of the boxing game right now, Saul Alvarez. I would love that smoke again. But also, I'm trying to forge forward and you know, I would love to get through Charlo to get to this next world title, which I think could happen.
Kind of just building off that, just one last thing. How do you think Canelo does in his rematch against Bivol if it happens?
I think Canelo needs to stay away from B-ball. It's he's one of those fights where styles make fights. You know what I mean?
I think the size too is like, I think he was daring to be great so much that I think it finally kind of caught up that he can't fight that heavy.
Maybe, yeah, that too. But I don't know. He did knock out Sergey Kovalev, who was a monster in the light heavyweight division, and Bivol didn't outpower him or outmuscle him or outsize him. He just outboxed him. So I think he just needs to leave Bivol alone. For real.
Yeah. Well, Austin, I appreciate the time. Maybe 2024 WBA BKFC champ if everything goes
2023.
well.
What you mean?
2023, and you're getting it all done this year.
Yeah. Why wait a year?
Yeah. Well, Austin, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. Have a good one, man.
Yeah. All right, we're joined by John Dodson, who's fighting at KnuckleMania 3. John, how's it going?
It feels amazing, man. I can't wait to go ahead and get my hands on this dude because I want to make sure I can solidify that fact that I'm one of the baddest and most destructive dudes at 125.
Before we get into this fight, I want to touch on the Ryzen fight. Like, I know when I talked to you, that was something you mentioned about something you want to do, a fight in Japan on New Year's Eve. Like, how kind of special was that to be part of that card?
It's amazing fact that I got to walk out as an internal and everybody out there was sitting there cheering me on. I was more ecstatic because it was more of a redemption for myself. My first time I went out to Japan when I was like 18, 19 years old, I had a very tough loss for myself because I thought I won, and then you know how the decision goes. I got pushed into a new category, so I got to knock out a veteran, a legend in the sport. Like Hideo, he's a dream champion, and he fought Sengoku, Pride, and everything else. And dude, it's just a legend, and it was a real experience. I can't even collaborate all the words together on how special it was for me.
Was this KnuckleMania fight booked before that one then? Or was this something that came up afterwards?
That was in the works. It wasn't even they knew that they were putting on a card here, and they were asking me if I wanted to fight in it, and I told them it depends on how this card goes.
How kind of cool is that Bare Knuckle lets you do that, where they let you take an MMA fight? Because they might be the only promotion that really lets you do other stuff besides just kind of being locked into their deal.
Well, actually, Ryzen was the one too, because they knew that I was in negotiations with Bare Knuckle, and the fact that I told them, hey, I'm going to be doing it as much things as I can. I'm not going to be just locked into your guys' organization to fight whenever you guys need me to. I was like, I'm not that young anymore, so I need to have that freedom to be able to do whatever I want. So it's actually pretty amazing the fact that everybody's kind of willing to let me branch out and be more of a special occasion than anything else. Oh, this mic's kind of going the wrong way.
Was that just a one fight deal then with Ryzen?
Contract with them. So I got more fights underneath my belt underneath them. And then now with Bare Knuckle, they saw the potential, the chaos, and how much sheer sexiness I got. They're going to allow me to have another fight contract with them as well.
And then with this fight at KnuckleMania, was this about the time frame you wanted to return to Bare Knuckle? This is obviously one of the bigger cards they do every year.
Well, absolutely. I was trying to go ahead and jump on Ryzen's biggest card with they're having that New Year's Eve thing with Bellator versus Ryzen, and then jumping into pretty much their Super Bowl fights for KnuckleMania. And I was like, cool. They want to showcase some of the best fighters and skilled athletes that on the earth. I got it. I want to be a part of this one too.
With Gerard Grant, like how familiar were you with him? Like was undefeated in bare knuckle until obviously his last one when he fought for the interim title.
Well, I've been watching his career like excel so much throughout all bare knuckle. Once I sat there and decided to go ahead and be a part of the bare knuckle family and try to knuckle up, I wanted to see my potential matchups, whether it be 135 or even at 125. And he's just so happened to be one of those genuine guys that I knew I would be coming across later down the road. Well, not down the road now. It's coming up soon.
Did you think you might have been able to get a title shot after that last one, or did you think you were probably going to need another fight?
I believe that I am the 125 champion already. So I figured that we're going to give me a belt and make this a title fight. But the original opponent that they had lined up to be a current matchup for it declined it. So I got the next best thing with being this dude. Not saying anybody's name because they hold the title and stuff, but they know who they are.
Are you surprised people turn you down then just because you are a big name and like beating you in bare knuckle does a lot for their career?
For their career. To tell you the truth, in MMA, look how well it done in the UFC. When I fighting at 135, I was going up and down within the rankings. And as soon as somebody beat me, they saw the true potential of that person. And some of those dudes either were title contenders or became champions. So nobody that was pretty much a nobody.
Then with you like fighting at multiple weight classes, like is there a preference for you at bare knuckle doing 25 or do you kind of like doing the 35?
Pretty much gonna be done with 35s. Well, no, I shouldn't be saying that. I'm done with 35s. I'm putting 35s on hold just right now because I need to go ahead and make a true statement saying how much of a true blessing I am at flyweight. Like everybody keeps on underrating me, sitting there saying I'm not skilled enough, I can't keep up, and they keep on bashing me. And I went up to a higher weight class, giving up that 10 pounds to my opponents all the time. I need to go back and flyweight, show how dominant I am. The speed's still there, the power I still crack, and I've shown the true aspect of killerness. So, or in MMA or bare knuckle.
Do you think your power is a big reason why you are better at flyweight? Because your power seems to be the same at flyweight and bantamweight.
No, it's not going to be the distinguishing factor. The factor is that I'm proving that I have more speed in. Like the 35s, they have the size that they can actually stop me here and there. Being able, if I can go ahead and touch them, they are grabbing, and then we see that uncomfortable situations that you always see me in. Like I try to muscle these dudes around, they're trying to cuddle me, and no one wants to really like be in that brawl and tussle that I want to be a part of.
With Jared, like how do you kind of see this one playing out? Because he's a pretty durable guy from what we've seen in his fights.
That he's durable when he's the one dictating the pace. But once we just saw in his most recent loss that at the point in time that he actually gets touched too many times, or the fact that he's going to go ahead and he broke within that first fight, or actually not the first fight, the only fight that he fought for the title. He sat there, had secured the title, he made a title defense for it, and then immediately lost it because he got broken. Reggie Barnes did an excellent job by pushing the pace, and I'm going to do the exact same thing and try to make sure I break him within that first round.
Do you think too with the 2-minute rounds you can push a pace like even more, like because like you're so used to fighting 5 minutes, like 2 minutes is kind of a sprint for you?
That means I'm going balls to wall for 2 minutes straight. Like everybody always sat there and says that, oh, John's conditioning is the thing that's the determining factor. This is 2 minutes. I can sprint for 2 minutes nonstop, throwing barrages of punches and landing them from weird. I know that he's going to try to tie me up to slow me down, but at the end of the day, he has to be able to hold me and control me in those situations. If he ties up with me at any given time, any moment in that, he has to be prepared and on his toes to get hit in the face every chance.
What does training look like for you? Like, was it full on? Is it still full on MMA, or now because you have a bare knuckle fight, do you switch to just kind of worry about boxing?
I'm doing full MMA. Like I'm making sure that I'm continuing on the same path that I did in my last camp. I didn't deviate in any way, shape, or form by having to go do a specialized day for just boxing and this and that. Nope, I kept on doing MMA, the whole thing of it, and making sure that I do hold mitts. When I'm hitting mitts, I'm the one wearing my boxing shoes to remind myself that I'm only just boxing for that occasion.
Oh, you said the goal is to kind of break him in that first round. So do you kind of see yourself getting another first round finish here?
I would love to get into the first round finish. Be honest with you, you said it right the first time. He's very durable, and I want to break his will so I can go ahead and impose it every chance I get.
This has to be the fight that gets you a title shot, right, though?
If he's the former interim champion at bantamweight, coming down to flyweight, if I dismantle this dude and make a clear statement, there's no denying the fact that I should be having a title around my waist. It shows how well a champion that I am if I can go ahead and pick apart the guys that they have already placed or held gold in those divisions or in that organization.
When you're fighting, like, do you have like, how do you kind of figure out when your schedule? Just because you're kind of signed to 2 promotions now, like, how does that kind of come about?
Whatever they have available, I'm willing to say yes, and just as long as it's not conflicting with each other. Like, who's going to send me in what? They can basically sit there and say, hey, we need you here, and I'll go ahead and look at the other organizations and see which one's going to benefit more.
Do you enjoy that, though? Because that probably keeps you as active as possible.
Because that you're right. I get to be as active as I wish I was in the UFC. And as many times I kept on telling them I want to be on the Cowboy schedule, get me a fight every 2 or 3 days. Let's do this. And they would it. Like, now I get to go ahead and fight every other month.
And then I guess it'd be pretty cool for you if you could end up being a Ryzen and bare knuckle champ at the same time. You might be the first person to really ever do that.
I'm trying to make sure I can be the only person to do that, because Ollie has that chance, or she was like a world champion in boxing and a world champion in mixed martial arts, or actually at the UFC.
Just a couple more things. Like, what is kind of the ideal year look like for you then?
The year means for me to go out there, fight throughout the whole year, get it 3 fights in the bare knuckle, 3 fights in the Ryzen, but at the end of that year, I should be having 2 different titles around each of my shoulders.
And then with how good your debut is, like, is it hard to really take much away from that? Because everyone, when I talk to people that make the switch to bare knuckle, they always talk about how much their hands hurt because they go like 12 minutes when you only went like 30 seconds. Like, is it hard to really realize what that could be like or where you want to land your punches? Because obviously there's a big thing, you don't want to land on someone's forehead with bare knuckle.
Like, I a little bit swollen because of the fact that I threw like 60 to 70 punches in that first 30 seconds, 40 seconds. Like, I know where I want to hit. I'm going to make sure I can go out there and continue to make these land barrages. I'm not worried about breaking my hands because I'm trying to sacrifice them to become a champion. I'm getting the job done with the tools that I have, and these are the only 2 tools I get to use, so I'm going to use them the best way possible to end the night quickly and get this fight over quickly.
Just last thing, obviously, a guy you used to train with John Jones making his heavyweight debut. Like, are you surprised it's finally happening? Because for years, like, it's always been considered it's going to happen. Now it finally seems like it is. It's booked and ready to happen.
Actually, more surprised in the fact that it took this long. John's been just an amazing athlete going in there for dominating the light heavyweight division, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do in the heavyweight division. He's the only person who's been able to beat himself and make him lose his chances of being like a true champion in the sport. But he's a guy, that guy's phenomenal. Like, he's going to go out there into the heavyweight division. He's going to shake things up. And I'm kind of disappointed in Francis Ngannou. I'm leaving when the true test is actually coming up to the heavyweight division.
How do you think Jones fares against Gane? Because I've seen a lot of comparisons that people just say Gane is the heavyweight Jones, or he's that tactical striker, and like, but Jones is a different kind of animal, and especially adding the weight. Like, I'm kind of interested to see how it plays out.
Because of the fact that he's been so invested into that weight training and making sure that he can do the right things by his diet, cardio, and recovering on all that strength that he's been doing. So now he's packing on the size and get used to it. I want to see how fast and how durable he's going to be being adjusted on the fly on those things. And since he has that extra weight now, we're going to see more knockouts from John Jones.
Do you think if he wins this, it just obviously becomes the UFC heavyweight champ? Like, do you think that just solidifies that he is the best ever?
I want him to make a more title run, and then it'll be making sure that he's the best, like, light heavyweight and heavyweight ever. I know he's gonna be disagreeing with me, but we already know the difference.
Yeah, and I think, say he wins this, and like, I think he's the best fighter to ever compete. Like, I think he's the greatest ever. But you had the heavyweight title. Like, I think it's harder to argue that he isn't, or at least in that like top 2.
Well, I can argue the fact that he might be one of the most greater heavyweights in the wave ever has seen, but the greatest fighter ever, I believe is Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah. Well, John, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Appreciate you getting in contact with me again. I knew that we were going to be speaking to each other for this KnuckleMania. So hopefully we can be talking to on the next Flyweight Grand Prix for.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're joined by UFC light heavyweight now, Zach Pauga, who's back in action. Zach, how's it going, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Like, obviously, you were on The Ultimate Fighter at heavyweight. Like, obviously, came up short in the finals. After that fight, like, were you guaranteed a UFC deal after that fight, or was it like, did you have to sign to? Like, how did that all kind of come to fruition?
You know, I don't think there's any guarantees with the UFC, but I did sign a contract before the fight. Like, me and Muhammad both signed 2 contracts, one if you win, one if you lose. I don't know if they could have shredded it up, you know, if I did horrible, but yeah, so I did have a loser's contract in place. Me and Muhammad both did when we went into the fight.
What do you take away from that whole experience and obviously the finale fight?
You know, it was a great experience. You know, I just take away that there's good. Everyone in the UFC is good. You know, I kind of was writing Muhammad off, having lived with him in the house, and I didn't think it was going to be an easy win, but I didn't really see any way that I would lose. And obviously, you know, he knocked my head off, and I didn't even get a chance to respond. So everyone in the UFC is good. You know, you got to respect everyone and be prepared for everyone's best game.
You were obviously a light heavyweight entering that house. Like, was it always the plan, win or lose that finale, you were dropping back down to 205?
Absolutely. This was always the plan. I think I'm the, you know, best 205er on the planet, and that means I was able to have some success at heavyweight. Got a nice year without having to cut weight, but my plan was always to be a light heavyweight UFC fighter.
Do you think like keeping that size on might help your power then, now that you're dropping back down? Like, you had a year kind of getting used to that size and not having to worry about your weight?
You know, people are going to see in 2 weeks just my physique. I'm like kind of ripped and a lot bigger now than I was at 205 before. You know, a year of bulking and then cutting the weight back off. I'm super fortunate in how it happened for my career, but yeah, I feel so much better now than I did fighting at 205 2 years ago.
And then fighting Jordan Wright, like a guy moving up from middleweight, like, were you kind of surprised to get him? Like, I imagine you weren't really expecting to get him, especially because he was fighting at middleweight.
Yeah, it is a surprise. It's really interesting, you know, a guy moving up and a guy moving down, both fighting each other. So we're going to see, you know, who makes the right adjustments. Was him cutting a lot of weight really hurting his game, or is me trying to go in and be the bigger fighter, going to help my game?
I just assume you will be bigger and probably stronger than him. Like, how do you think that plays a role in the fight?
You know, I'm obviously, the main reason I want to fight at 205 anyways, because my fight style is being a bully. I want to push people up against the cage, put my forehead in their chin. I am planning on being bigger and stronger than him, but I'm sure he's planning on being faster and in better shape than me. So we'll see how it goes. I just spent a year fighting guys that were bigger than me and did pretty well. So I'm not writing him off completely.
Oh, what do you what do you made of his UFC run? Like, he's a kind of killer, be-killed fighter. Like, it rarely gets out of the first round with his fights. Like, what do you kind of made of his run so far?
So you said the right words, kill or be killed, man. That's what he does. Like, he fights the way that Dana wants all of us to fight, and that's why they've kind of kept him around. But he's dangerous. He's a super dangerous fighter, and this is the most dangerous part of his career. He's probably fighting for his job, and that means I'm going to get the best Jordan Wright there is, and I'm ready for that.
What do you think? It's like, do you expect him to have like a better chin, be able to take the shots that he isn't cutting so much weight? Then on the flip side, like, you are hitting harder than what these middleweights have been hitting him like.
You know, I don't really concern myself with how many shots to the head a guy can take, you know. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much weight you're cutting or not cutting. I was knocking out heavyweights that didn't cut a single pound their entire life. So I'm not super worried about him being more durable now that he's at 205.
Maybe some people don't know, but you are 34, like, but you don't have a whole lot of fights, like a whole lot of MMA fights. Like, you started your pro career in 2020. Do you think that like helps you and you don't kind of seem like up there in age just because you don't have that mileage in like fighting?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have the wear and tear that most fighters do. I obviously played football for a long time, so I have that, mileage on my body. But it's mainly just clean living, putting good things in my body, keeping good things in my mind, and taking care of myself is why I'm going to have a long career here.
With this one too, whenever I talk to people off Tough, they always kind of talk about how that second UFC fight always kind of feels like their official debut, just because you're not wearing the Tough shorts. Like it's nothing to do with the tournament. Like, do you kind of view it as the same? Like this is your real debut?
Absolutely, this is my UFC debut. I don't even think the Tough fight. I don't think they called it a UFC debut. Like you said, I was wearing Tough shorts. Didn't even get a hoodie to wear out, a UFC hoodie to wear out to the ring. So this is my UFC debut.
With this one back at the Apex, like, do you like that, or do you wish you could have gotten one of these cards in front of fans?
I love the crowd. I love fighting in front of the crowds, the energy that they give you. So, my plan is to get on a pay-per-view eventually sometime, but the Apex is like my backyard now. I lived in this place for 6 weeks, so I'm comfortable here.
With this one, how do you kind of see it playing out? Like we talked about earlier, like Jordan's a guy rarely gets out of the first round. Like it seems one way or the other, this one's gonna probably end pretty early.
So I'm planning to, weather the storm and show some things that I haven't gotten to show since people have mainly seen me fighting heavyweight. I want to show my grappling. I want to show my ground game, and I want to test his cardio. See if the weight cut is really what was, making cardio hard for him or not.
You work with a ton of high-paced guys, like Curtis Blades, one of them. Like, you're like, do you just think the longer the fight goes, the more it favors you, especially just being a natural 205, or like you're used to pushing these high paces?
Absolutely. He's never seen a judge's scorecard, and that's, maybe that's something he puts on his resume as a good thing, but that just means that every second that ticks by is another second going to me.
What is kind of the vibe around the gym right now? Like, obviously, you have Usman trying to fight for the belt. You have Gaethje on the same card. Like, Curtis Blades could be like one win away from a title shot against maybe a John Jones. Like, it seems like a lot of things are going in the gym's way right now, or a lot of big fights upcoming.
Yeah, we are doing well right now. But like two years ago, we won Gym of the Year or something like Gym of the Year, and then the following year, everyone had losses. So we're not getting lost in the sauce. We're just trying to keep our nose to the grindstone and make sure we win these fights. A lot of big, important fights coming up, but it doesn't mean anything if we don't win them.
I know you work with Curtis and Devin Clark a lot. When I talked to Devin before his fight, he brought your name up. Like, how much does that help you kind of preparing for these, where you're going with these guys that are established in the UFC and have kind of fought the who's who?
It's my career is what it is because of them. I've been fighting the best guys in the UFC for years, and now I'm finally getting to the UFC and I'm fighting guys that are at the bottom, but I've already been sparring with the guys at the top. I know what the level is in this game.
Oh, you get past Jordan. Like, what do you think that does for you? Or is it more just kind of getting your foot in the door in the UFC?
So yeah, the last thing people saw of me was losing, getting knocked out. So I have to redeem myself. I have to put my name in a good light, win this fight, and then start building some hype behind myself.
Is there a lot of pressure on you, like coming off that first career loss, to kind of right the wrong, kind of show people like that wasn't you and you are a lot better than that?
Yeah, there is pressure, but it's the kind of pressure I want. If it wasn't, this is an important fight. If it wasn't an important fight, no one would care. But I have to go out there and show that I am who I think I am.
And just final thing for you, like, what is kind of the ideal year look like for you? Like, what is kind of your goals for this year?
So like I said, I'm on the loser's contract from the Ultimate Fighter. I want to burn that thing out. I'm trying to fight 4 or 5 times this year if I can. Health and wins obviously need to happen, but I'm trying to be the most active fighter on the roster this year.
Actually, just one more quick thing. Like, I know you are light heavyweight, but now that you did fight a couple times at heavyweight, like, is it out of the picture you take a short notice heavyweight fight if it is the kind of the right opponent, right opportunity?
So I'm open to it. If it's the right matchup, if it's a fight I like, and one that my skills line up, like I said, I walk around at 245. I'll fight heavyweight if it's short notice and it's a matchup that I like.
Well, Zach, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, we're joined by UFC lightweight Evan Elder, who's got his second appearance upcoming soon. Evan, how's it going, man?
I'm doing really good, man. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, obviously, last fight, like, just obviously want to touch on that debut, short notice, fought a pretty tough guy in Preston Parsons. Like, looking back, like, what do you take away from that fight?
I took away a lot, man. Obviously, failure is part of the process a lot of times, and fortunately, I learned a ton from that loss. So I didn't walk away empty-handed, but a lot of I would say one of the biggest things I definitely walked away with is the fear, losing the fear of losing, and which has been tremendous for, funny enough, like almost my confidence. Just kind of going in there, not worried about the outcome, much more focused on the process. And aside from that, technically, got controlled and mount quite a bit. So a lot of ground escapes, escaping mount, side control, and stuff like that. So, obviously striking as well and stuff. So took away a lot from it.
You've mentioned something that a lot of fighters that I talk to always mention when they lose their first fight. They said like it's kind of a relief just because like in the gym you're so focused on just keeping that rather than like kind of just improving, and in the fight like you're not really focusing on the fight. You just kind of always kind of think about I can't lose. And why do you think that is, where like fighters seem to like get better after that first loss and kind of get past that kind of mental barrier?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm sure it is a fighting thing, but also it's probably just a human problem of like this unrealistic idea of perfection. Of like we're trying to maintain this untainted, perfect form of ourself. And I really feel like that probably has a lot to do with it. And probably also feels like a part of our identity, is a tied to like being undefeated, so that might be a part of it, but it kind of I guess humbling also, but just reminded me that the goal is not to be necessarily undefeated. The goal is to be the best that I can be, and I learned way more from that loss than I have most of my other wins, so I'm oddly thankful for it.
A bit of a layoff too, like 10 months after that fight. Like, was this something you wanted, or is it just like you couldn't get a fight for that long time?
No, just kind of the way it panned out. I was actually pretty much ready to go. I was chomping at the bits, honestly, to get back in there because I wanted to freaking, get I didn't like my last fight being a loss, so I was trying to get back in the win column. And but I'm a firm believer everything happens for a reason, and God's timing is always perfect. So I've grown exponentially in these last 10 or so months, and I'm very thankful for that layoff. So it gave me a lot of time to focus and improve on the things that I needed to work on, and hopefully I'll get to exhibit that in this upcoming fight.
And having a full camp too now to prepare for a UFC fight, like how much better do you think you are going to be and kind of show the fans like kind of your complete game? Because it is hard fighting anyone on short notice, and especially making that debut on the big stage on short notice as well.
Yeah, man, I think it's going to be significantly different. I'm going to have not only be physically more prepared, but more importantly, I think mentally more prepared. Also going in with more of a game plan and structure, kind of a much more strategic approach instead of just going in there and winging it, more or less. So, a fight's always going to be a fight regardless. And, so strategy and preparing, it's only going to do so much, but as far as game planning, you can game plan all you want and you get in there and shit just doesn't go the way you expected it to, but it definitely does help going in with as much of a game plan as you can, in my opinion. So I think this will be significantly better.
With Nazim, like making his UFC debut, like looked pretty good on the Contender Series. Like, how familiar were you with him?
The Contender Series was the first I had heard of him. But I watched his fight and I was really impressed, man. I was like, man, that dude's good. I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for him, because I knew he was in the lightweight division, and I'm just a huge fan of the sport. So I was like, damn, that dude's good. I'm gonna keep my eye on him because he might be he's definitely probably gonna be a prospect. So then just luck of the draw, I matched up with him for both of our. His first fight, and then this will be my second one. But both of us young in our UFC career, so yeah, man, he's good. He's he's good at what he does, and does a couple things really well. He's a good, solid boxer. He's gonna come straight forward, southpaw, high guard, and try to walk me down, apply pressure, and bring the fight to me. But I think that I'm going to be able to exploit a couple of the holes that I found, or what it seems like I've found, and it's going to be just a battle of who can implement what they want to do on that night.
And then with the time off, like obviously it is a time where you obviously imagine you want to be fighting, making money, but now that it's kind of happened, like, is it a good thing? Because that's 10 months in the gym, which is a long time to kind of work on new things and kind of round up your game.
Yeah, 100%, man. That's what I was saying earlier with being thankful for the layoff, is because I've really, really grown a lot, and it's given me, ample amount of time to prepare and, not just get ready for this fight, but just overall improve. That was 10 months constantly in the gym and working hard to improve 2, sometimes 3 times a day, 5, 6 days a week. So, yeah, a lot of growth, and I think that it will definitely pay dividends in this fight.
Who are kind of the main people you're working with? Is it the same crew, or did you bring in different people to kind of train for Nazim?
It's we didn't bring in anybody necessarily, because we have there's the freaking mats at the gym are just packed, so we got all kinds of talent. Really no necessary need to look outside. But yeah, a couple of my training partners, Landon Quinones, Elvin Espinoza, and Christos Yagos, and then other guys like Richie the Savage, Lewis, and Angel Alvarez, just all the southpaws I could find at our gym, basically. So that did make it a little bit harder, because it's much more common for to have an orthodox fighting style. So you are a little bit more limited on southpaw training partners, but thankfully at our gym, we have so many guys and so many high level guys that all the guys that I've, any of the southpaw looks I get are high level, so I've had plenty of good southpaw training partner looks for this fight.
You obviously train at one of the best gyms in the world. Like, what's it like for you to be part of that gym and like kind of seeing all the high level guys, world champions there, and kind of seeing how they train? Because obviously I think that probably helps you just seeing what they kind of do and getting to that level.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's dude, every single day I walk on the mat, man, I got to pinch myself, make sure I'm really here. Cause I'm just like, it's just, dude after dude that's I've looked up to for many, many years, freaking on the mats, and Gilbert Burns and Michael Chandler and, just, you could just go down the list of guys, but it's, so many people that I have aspired to be like, my whole life. So it's really nice and really reassuring. I feel like I'm in the right spot doing the right things. So, very good for confidence, but also just skill building, of course, because it's like, this is what the best in the world are doing. So I'm right there learning firsthand.
And then vibe at Killcliff probably has to be pretty high, with Gilbert getting the Jorge fight, Chandler getting the Connor fight. Like, it probably is pretty good vibes over there right now.
Yeah, dude, it's the dopest place, man. It's the energy in the room really is just always unparalleled, man. I've gotten the chance to train, several different places. Sorry, freaking dang, lights shut off. But I've gotten the chance to train quite a few different places, and man, like I was saying, the energy is just unparalleled, dude. It's just the work rate and the vibe in the room, man, is just, you can't find it anywhere else.
Who is going to be cornering you for this one?
We'll have my wrestling coach, Greg Jones, in my corner, along with a couple of my training partners, Chuko and Brendan Allen, are both going to be out there. So I'm probably just going to have them corner me.
With Nazim, like, how do you think you match up against him? Like, a pretty good striker from what we've seen.
Yeah, I think it's a good matchup, man. I think it's actually stylistically, it's a it's a fun fight, man. It's a really fun fight. He's really good, and I believe I am too. And I think stylistically, I'm going to approach it. I'm going to be wanting to mix it up a lot more, and I think he's going to be trying to make it more of a stand-up fight, and pressure me and get me into more of a brawl, so he can find the chance to sit down on his combinations. And I think where I'm really going to get to shine is by just mixing it up. Being a complete, well-rounded mixed martial artist.
Back at the Apex, disappointed with that, or like not being in front of fans, or do you like the Apex?
Nah, man, I do love being in front of fans. I was a little underwhelmed for sure whenever I fought at the Apex the last time. But it's all good, man. It doesn't matter. It's I'm in no position to be calling the shots for what I want or anything like that. So I'm gonna do what I have to do, what I'm told to do right now, and work my way up the totem pole and earn a spot on an arena card, hopefully.
Both you guys, like, you look at your records, like a lot of first round finishes for both you guys, but then both you guys are extremely durable too. So like, how do you kind of see it playing out then?
Man, it's I'm preparing for a 3-round drag out war, but I'm hoping that if I could get him out of there earlier, whether it be submission, knockout, TKO, doesn't matter. But man, if it goes a distance, like I think there's a good chance it will. It's going to be a good one, dude, because like you said, I think that we're both very tough, very durable, very mentally strong. So our conditioning is going to be there, and it's going to be a fun one, man. It's going to be fun.
You get your hand raised, like, what are those kind of emotions like? Have you been able to think about that, like getting that first UFC win? Because getting to the UFC is obviously a big goal, but then like winning in the UFC is kind of that next step.
Yeah, 100%, man. Dude, yeah, it'll definitely be emotional for me, because it's just, it's been a lifelong dream of mine. You hit it, hit the nail on the head with, getting there is one thing, but like getting a win in the UFC is the next big step, So it's like, checked one thing off the list, and this is just the beginning. This should, to me, I was hoping that getting to the UFC would be inevitable. So that's not the end of the road by any means. So getting this first win will definitely be a monumental moment in my career, and it'll definitely probably be a little emotional just because of so much work and time and effort and sacrifice has gone into it. But it's gonna be well worth it.
Just final thing, like, what is kind of the goal then for you this year? Like, still fighting fairly early to begin the year kind of sets you up to have hopefully an active year.
Yeah, I hope so, man. We had like we had mentioned earlier in the talk, almost 10-month layoff, so it's longer than I anticipated. But fortunately, I'm still fairly young and early on in my career, so I have enough time. I love saying all I got is time, but not enough to waste it. So I'm okay with whatever happens. I would ideally like to get in and get out, as healthy as possible, and then be able to hop right back into a training camp and turn around a fight within a couple months. But I'm not really looking past this fight, so I really don't have too much of a game plan past this, because it's just so unpredictable what could happen. Walk away with a first off, hopefully the win, but secondly, even if things go well, might break your hand or freaking foot, or you have no idea. So it's just I'm not really looking too far past this fight, but ideally, perfect world, I'd get out unscathed and turn around, fight in a couple months, and repeat that process as many times as possible.
Oh, well, Evan, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely, Cole. Thank you so much, buddy. Have a great day.